had been working on for 6 months now. It was a big ship that carried crew members from 12 different species, was the only human engineer in the mechanical section. He fixed things. He made broken parts work again. He was good at his job. But had one problem. He sometimes spoke his thoughts out loud without meaning to. Back on Earth, this was just a small issue. People would laugh and move on. But here, on a ship full of aliens who did not understand human habits, it could cause real trouble. Today was a training day. The whole bridge crew was running combat simulations, was there to make sure the holographic systems worked properly. He stood in the corner with his toolkit, watching the officers give commands and move around the room. That was when he saw her, Vila. Vila was an officer. There were tall beings with silver skin and 4 arms. They had large eyes that changed color based on their mood. Right now, Vila's eyes were bright gold, which meant she was focused and happy. She was very good at her job. Everyone on the ship respected her. Watched as Vila commanded the rear defense team during the simulation. Enemy ships attacked from behind and Vila moved her forces perfectly. She protected them without losing a single virtual crew member. Her tactics were beautiful to watch. Every move was smart. Every decision was perfect. Wow, whispered to himself, that is one impressive rear. He meant her rear defense strategy. He was talking about tactics. But the moment the words left his mouth, he felt cold fear run through his body. His translator implant was still set to broadcast mode. Had forgotten to switch it back after the morning announcement. This meant that every word he just said was sent to every communication device on the bridge. Every single officer heard him loud and clear. The room went completely silent. Vila stopped moving. Her 4 hands froze in the air above the control panel. Her eyes slowly changed from gold to deep purple. Did not know what purple meant, but he was sure it was not good. Captain, a large reptilian commander with green scales, turned to look at. His yellow eyes were wide with shock. "Engineer," he said slowly, "did you just broadcast that message to the entire bridge?" Wanted to disappear. He wanted the floor to open up and swallow him whole. His face turned red and he could feel sweat forming on his forehead. I can explain," he said. But before he could say anything more, Lieutenant, a small furry officer from a species called let out a loud gasp. "He spoke about her rear," said to the officer next to her, "in front of everyone." "This is most unusual," said Commander, a tall insect-like being with clicking mandibles. "Humans do not normally do this, correct?" "No," said quickly. "I mean, yes, I spoke, but I was talking about her tactics, her rear defense tactics. You know, the way she protected the back of the ship." Nobody seemed to believe him. Vila finally turned around. She walked toward with slow, careful steps. Her 4 arms were now crossed in front of her chest. Her purple eyes stared directly at his face. The other officers moved out of her way like scared animals. "Human," Vila said. Her voice was calm but cold. "You spoke about my rear in public where all could hear." Swallowed hard. "Officer Vila, I promise I was talking about your strategy. The rear guard defense you commanded, it was impressive. That is all I meant." Vila studied him for a long moment. Her eyes slowly changed from purple to a strange shade of pink. Had never seen that color before. He had no idea what it meant. "Come with me," Vila said. "We must speak privately." The other officers gasped again. Captain stepped forward. "Officer Vila, is that really necessary? I am sure the human meant no offense." "This is a matter of culture," Vila replied. "It must be handled according to our ways." She looked at again. "Follow me, human." Had no choice. He put down his toolkit and followed Vila out of the bridge. The doors closed behind them, and he could hear the other officers immediately start talking in excited whispers. Vila led him through the ship's corridors. She did not speak. She did not look back. Walked behind her, his heart beating fast in his chest. He tried to think of what to say, but his mind was blank. He had really done it this time. They stopped at a small meeting room. Vila opened the door and stepped inside, followed her, and the door closed automatically. They were alone now. Vila turned to face him. Her eyes were still that strange pink color. "Do you know what you have done?" she asked. "I made a mistake," said. "I forgot my translator was in broadcast mode. I was watching the simulation and I was impressed by your command. When I said rear, I meant your tactical positioning. I was not trying to be rude or disrespectful." Vila tilted her head. Rude, disrespectful, she seemed confused by these words. "Yes," said. "On Earth, if someone comments on another person's physical rear, in public it is considered very inappropriate. I did not mean to do that. I was talking about military tactics." Vila was quiet for a moment. Then she made a sound that had never heard before. It took him a second to realize she was laughing. "You think I am angry because you spoke about my body, aren't you?" asked confused. "No," Vila said. "I am not angry at all." Her eyes changed to bright green. "Among my people, when someone praises another's tactical mind in public, it is a very serious thing. It is not an insult. It is the highest compliment one can give." Felt some relief. "Oh good, so we are okay." Vila shook her head slowly. Her green eyes seemed to glow brighter. "You do not understand, human. When a person publicly praises another's strategic abilities, it is considered a declaration of deep admiration. In culture, what you just did is equal to a proposal of partnership." His mouth fell open. "A proposal like marriage." "Something similar," Vila said. "You have announced to the entire bridge that you find my mind worthy of the highest respect. By our customs, this means you wish to join your path with mine." Felt his legs go weak. He leaned against the wall for support. "I had no idea. I really was just impressed by your tactics." Vila stepped closer to him. Her 4 hands unfolded and she placed 2 of them on his shoulders. "I believe you," she said, "but my people will not. They will expect me to respond to your declaration." "Respond how?" asked nervously. Vila's smile grew wider. "That depends on what I decide. But first, you should know something, human. No one has ever praised my tactical mind so publicly before. You are the first." Did not know if this was good or bad. All he knew was that his habit of speaking his thoughts had just gotten him into the strangest situation of his life. And something told him this was only the beginning. Stood in the small meeting room, trying to understand what had just happened. He had accidentally broadcast a comment about Vila's tactical skills, and now the entire culture was treating it like a marriage proposal. This was not how he expected his day to go. Vila watched him with those bright green eyes. Her 4 hands were still resting on his shoulders. She seemed to be studying him, like a scientist examining a strange new creature. "You look scared," Vila said. "Is the idea of being partnered with me so terrible?" "No," said quickly. "I mean you are very impressive, but I barely know you, and I did not mean to propose anything. I was just watching the simulation and thinking out loud." Vila removed her hands from his shoulders and stepped back. "I understand. Humans have different customs. Your words did not carry the same meaning for you as they did for my people." She paused. "But the damage is already done. The crew heard your broadcast. By now, everyone on the ship knows what you said." Groaned and rubbed his face with both hands. "Can we just tell them it was a mistake, that I did not know about culture?" "We can try," Vila said, "but many will not accept that explanation. In their eyes you have spoken and words cannot be taken back." Her eyes shifted to a softer shade of blue. "There is also another problem." "Another problem?" asked. "What could be worse than accidentally proposing to an alien officer?" Vila crossed 2 of her arms while the other 2 hung at her sides. "Some of my people will think I should be offended. They will say that a human is not worthy of praising a strategist. They will expect me to punish you for your boldness." felt his stomach drop. Punish me how? Traditionally, the challenged party has three options, Vila explained. They can accept the praise and agree to partnership. They can reject the praise and demand an apology, or they can issue a challenge. A challenge, repeated. What kind of challenge? A test of skill, Vila said. If someone claims to admire your abilities, you can demand they prove their words have value. You challenge them to match your skill or defeat you in competition. If they succeed, their praise is proven genuine. If they fail, they are shown to be unworthy of speaking such words. Thought about this. So you could challenge me to a combat simulation, like the one you were running on the bridge. Yes, Vila said. And if I did, you would have to accept. Refusing a challenge is the greatest insult in culture. It would make you an outcast on this ship. Leaned against the wall and let out a long breath. This is insane. On Earth, if someone says something embarrassing, people just laugh about it and move on. Maybe there is some awkwardness for a few days, but nobody issues challenges or talks about partnerships. Vila tilted her head with curiosity. Your people do not value words as highly as mine do, for the words are sacred. When we speak, we mean exactly what we say. There is no such thing as speaking carelessly or by accident. Well, humans speak carelessly all the time, said. We have sayings, jokes, sarcasm. Sometimes words come out before we even think about them. That is exactly what happened to me. I am beginning to understand this, Vila said. Your species is very strange. You speak without meaning and you mean without speaking. How do you ever communicate clearly? Laughed weakly. Honestly, sometimes we do not. Miscommunication is a big problem for humans too, but we usually figure it out eventually. Vila walked to the small window and looked out at the stars. Her silver skin reflected the distant lights. I have worked with humans before, she said quietly, but I have never had one speak to me the way you did. Even if it was an accident, your words affected me. Looked at her carefully. Affected you how? Vila did not answer right away. When she spoke again, her voice was softer. No one has ever praised my tactical mind in public. My own people respect me, but they also fear me. I am very good at what I do, and that makes some uncomfortable. They see me as a rival, not as someone to admire. Felt a strange feeling in his chest. It was sympathy. Despite her confident appearance, Vila seemed lonely. That sounds difficult, he said. It is what it is, Vila replied. She turned back to face him. Your words, even though they were accidental, made me feel seen. That is rare for me. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The silence was not uncomfortable. It was thoughtful. Then straightened up and cleared his throat. Look, I am sorry for causing this mess. I truly did not mean to put you in an awkward position. If there is a way to fix this without making things worse, I want to try. Vila considered this. There might be one way, but it is not simple. Tell me, said. I could issue the challenge, Vila said. If you accept and we compete, the matter will be settled according to tradition. Whether you win or lose, my people will see that I responded properly. The scandal will fade. Nodded slowly, and if I do not accept the challenge, then I will be expected to punish you for your disrespect, Vila said. That could mean public humiliation, removal from the ship, or worse. And I do not want to do that to you. You seem like a good person who made an honest mistake. Appreciated her kindness. She could have used this situation to hurt him, but she was trying to find a fair solution instead. Okay, he said. If issuing the challenge is the best way forward, then do it. I will accept. Vila's eyes widened slightly. You would agree to compete against me. In tactical strategy, I must warn you, I have never lost a command duel, not once in my entire career. Humans are creative but have trained in warfare for thousands of years. I understand, said, but what choice do I have? If I refuse, things get worse. If I accept and lose, at least the situation is resolved, and maybe, just maybe, I can surprise you. Vila made that strange laughing sound again. You are either very brave or very foolish. I am not sure which. Probably both, admitted. Vila walked toward the door, then stopped. She looked back at him with eyes that had turned a warm golden color. I will announce the challenge tomorrow morning. You will have 1 day to prepare. Use that time wisely, human. Wait, called out. Can I ask you something first? Vila nodded. If I somehow win this challenge, said carefully, what happens then? Does that mean we are partners, like you said before? Vila smiled. It was the first real smile he had seen on her silver face. That would depend on many things, she said, but let us not get ahead of ourselves. First, you must survive the duel. With those words, she left the room, stood alone, staring at the closed door. He had 1 day to prepare for a tactical competition against the best strategist on the ship. He was definitely going to need help. Pulled out his communication device and sent a message to his friend, another human who worked in the science department. The message was simple. Emergency. Meet me in the cafeteria. Bring coffee. If was going to do the impossible, he would need all the help he could get. Arrived at the cafeteria with 2 cups of hot coffee and a look of pure confusion on his face, he sat down across from and slid 1 cup over. Okay, he said. I got your message. What is this emergency? Took a long drink of coffee before answering. I accidentally proposed marriage to an officer. Stared at him. You did what? It is a long story, said. He explained everything that had happened, the broadcast mistake, the cultural misunderstanding, Vila's explanation about customs, the challenge that would happen tomorrow. When finished, was quiet for several seconds. Then he burst out laughing. Only you could turn a simple comment into an intergalactic incident. This is not funny, said. I have to compete against her tomorrow, in tactical strategy. She has never lost a command duel in her entire career. What am I supposed to do? Stopped laughing and leaned forward. Okay, let me think. You are an engineer, not a military officer. You have never commanded troops or run simulations. Vila has been doing this for decades. On paper, you have no chance. Thank you for the encouragement, said dryly. But continued, you are human, and humans have something that most species do not expect. What is that? Chaos, said with a grin. We are unpredictable. We do things that make no logical sense. Every other species in the galaxy follows rules and patterns. Humans break rules for fun. That is our advantage. Thought about this. So you are saying I should not try to beat Vila at her own game. I should change the game entirely. Exactly, said. She expects you to play by the standard tactical rules. She has prepared for every logical strategy, but she has not prepared for illogical strategies. Do something crazy, something no sensible person would ever do. Rubbed his chin. That might work, but I need to know the rules of the duel first. What am I allowed to do? I can help with that, said a new voice, and looked up to see a small, furry officer standing beside their table. It was Lieutenant, the who had been on the bridge during the broadcast incident. May I sit? Asked politely. Of course, said, making room for her. Hopped onto the chair and folded her small hands on the table. I heard about your situation, she said. The whole ship is talking about it. You are quite famous now, human. Great, muttered. That is exactly what I wanted. Do not worry, said. Many of us think this is very exciting, a human challenging tradition. It is the most interesting thing to happen on this ship in months. She leaned closer. I want to help you prepare. Was surprised. Why would you help me? Whiskers twitched. Because Vila is very good at what she does, too good. She always wins and it has made her proud. I think it would be healthy for her to face a real challenge for once. Also, I like humans. You are amusing. Laughed, I like her. Fine, said. Tell me about the duel. What are the rules? Explain the format. The command duel was a simulated space battle. Each competitor would control a fleet of virtual ships. They would start on opposite sides of a digital battlefield. The goal was to destroy the enemy command ship while protecting your own. The first person to lose their command ship would lose the duel. Each fleet is exactly the same, continued. Same number of ships, same weapons, same defenses. The only difference is the mind controlling them. Strategy is everything. How long do these duels usually last? Asked. Vila's duels never last more than 15 minutes, said. She defeats her opponents quickly and efficiently. She does not waste time. Nodded. What strategies does she usually use? Described Vila's typical approach. She favored formation tactics, keeping her ships in tight groups that could support each other. She used her smaller ships to scout and gather information. She was patient, waiting for her opponent to make a mistake before striking with overwhelming force. She is defensive at first, explained. She studies her enemy, learns their patterns, and then exploits their weaknesses. By the time opponents realize what she is doing, it is already too late. Listened carefully. So she waits for mistakes. What if I do not give her any clear mistakes to exploit? Then she will create pressure, said. She will force you to react, and reactions lead to errors. Scratched his head. This sounds impossible. She adapts to everything. How do you beat someone who learns from your every move? Was quiet for a long moment. Then slowly, a strange smile spread across his face. You do not give her anything to learn from. And exchanged confused looks. What do you mean? Asked. Vila studies patterns, said. She learns her opponent's strategy and counters it. But what if I have no strategy? What if I do something completely random with no pattern at all? That is insane, said. Without strategy, you will lose. Maybe, agreed. But hear me out. Vila's greatest strength is her ability to predict what her opponent will do next. If I am unpredictable, that strength becomes useless. She cannot counter what she cannot understand. Started nodding slowly. It is crazy enough that it might work, pure chaos against perfect order. She has never faced anything like that before. But random actions will not win a battle, protested. You need some kind of plan. Not random actions, corrected. Unpredictable actions. There is a difference. I will have goals, but I will achieve them in ways that make no logical sense. Every time she thinks she understands what I am doing, I will do something else entirely. His large eyes blinked several times. You want to confuse her. Exactly, said. Confusion is my weapon. If I can make her doubt her own analysis, even for a moment, that is my chance. For the next several hours and worked together. They reviewed recordings of Vila's past duels. They studied how she reacted to different situations. They looked for moments when she seemed uncertain or surprised. Those moments were rare, but they existed. And every time, the opponent had done something unexpected. See here, pointed at the screen. In this duel, her opponent retreated when they should have attacked. Vila hesitated for 3 seconds before pursuing. She was surprised by the illogical move. 3 seconds is not much, said. In a tactical duel, 3 seconds is eternity, replied. That is enough time to reposition, to set a trap, to change everything. Made notes. He was starting to form an idea, not a strategy exactly, but a philosophy. He would be water, always flowing, never solid enough to grab. He would be fire, jumping from place to place without warning. He would be chaos itself. When morning came, had not slept. His eyes were tired, but his mind was sharp. He knew what he had to do. The challenge was announced throughout the ship. Every crew member who was not on duty would gather to watch. This was entertainment for them, a human engineer against the greatest tactician. Everyone expected a quick and easy victory for Vila. Walked toward the simulation room with and beside him. Crew members watched him pass, whispering to each other. He is going to lose badly, someone said. Poor human, he has no idea what he is facing, another added. ignored them all. He focused on his breathing, on his heartbeat. He thought about the chaos inside his mind, the creativity that humans were known for. At the door of the simulation room, Vila was waiting. She wore formal clothing, silver and white robes that made her look like a queen of ice. Her eyes were calm gold. "You came," she said. "I was not sure you would." "I said I would accept the challenge," replied. "Humans keep their word." Vila nodded with respect. "Then let us begin." The doors opened, and together they walked inside. The duel was about to start and was ready to show the galaxy what human chaos could do. The simulation room was a large circular chamber with seats rising on all sides like a stadium. Hundreds of crew members had gathered to watch. The air was filled with excited chatter. This was the biggest event on the in years. In the center of the room stood two command platforms. Each platform had holographic controls and a large screen showing the battlefield. Stood on one platform. Vila stood on the other. Between them, a massive holographic display showed the virtual space where their fleets waited. Captain stood at the edge of the arena. "This is an official command duel," he announced. "The rules are simple. Each commander controls an equal fleet. The first to lose their command ship is defeated. There are no time limits. There are no restrictions on tactics. May the best mind win." The crowd cheered. Could hear some crew members already betting on how quickly Vila would destroy him. Most guesses were under 10 minutes. "Commanders, prepare your fleets," Captain said. Looked at his holographic display. His fleet appeared before him. 20 small fighter ships, 10 medium cruisers, 5 heavy destroyers, and his command ship sitting safely at the center. Across the battlefield, Vila's identical fleet mirrored his own. Her ships were already moving into formation, organizing themselves into perfect defensive positions. She was ready. Took a deep breath. This was it. "Begin," Captain shouted. Immediately, Vila's scouts moved forward. 5 small fighters spread out across the battlefield, searching for information about its movements. It was a classic opening move. She wanted to know what he was planning before committing her main forces. His response surprised everyone. Instead of sending his own scouts, he ordered all his fighters to cluster together in a tight ball. They spun around each other randomly, changing positions every few seconds. It looked like complete chaos. The crowd murmured in confusion. "What is he doing?" someone asked. Vila's eyes narrowed slightly. Her scouts sent back information, but the information made no sense. Fighters were not moving toward her. They were not setting up defenses. They were just spinning in circles. "Interesting," Vila said quietly. She waited, expecting to reveal his true strategy, but did not reveal anything. Instead, he sent his cruisers in 3 different directions at once. One group went left, one group went right, one group went straight up, moving above the plane of battle. None of them seemed to have a purpose. The audience started laughing. "He has no idea what he is doing." But And, watching from the front row, knew better. "He is confusing her," whispered. "Look at her face." Vila's calm expression had changed slightly. There was a small crease between her eyes. She was thinking hard, trying to understand the pattern in its movements, but there was no pattern. That was the point. 5 minutes passed. Vila had not attacked yet. This was unusual for her. In most duels, she would have already struck by now, but she was being careful, waiting to understand her enemy first. Used her hesitation to his advantage. He suddenly ordered one of his destroyers to charge directly at Vila's fleet. It was a suicide run. The ship had no support, no backup. It would be destroyed in seconds. Vila reacted immediately, sending her cruisers to intercept. They destroyed its destroyer easily. But while they were focused on that, other ships had moved again. They had completely changed positions. The battlefield looked different now. "He sacrificed a ship for nothing," someone in the crowd said. But shook her head. "He sacrificed a ship to move everything else. She was watching the destroyer. She was not watching the rest. The duel continued, kept making strange, illogical moves. He would send ships forward, then pull them back. He would create formations that fell apart immediately. He would attack in one direction and then retreat for no reason. Every time Vila tried to counter his strategy, he changed to something completely different. Her carefully planned responses kept hitting empty space. Her predictions kept being wrong. For the first time in her career, Vila was confused. "Why are you doing this?" she asked across the battlefield. "These moves make no sense." "That is the point," replied with a grin. "You are looking for logic where there is none. Stop trying to understand me. You cannot." Vila's eyes flashed purple with frustration. She decided to change her approach. If she could not predict movements, she would simply overwhelm him with force. She gathered her entire fleet and pushed forward in one massive wave. It was a bold move, a direct attack with everything she had. If tried to fight back, she would crush him. If he tried to run, she would chase him down. There was no escape from raw power. But did something nobody expected. He ordered his command ship to fly straight into the center of his own scattered fleet. Then he set all his ships to explode at the same time. Not really explode, of course. It was a simulation, but the result was the same. A massive chain reaction of virtual destruction filled the battlefield. Ships died, but they took a huge number of Vila's ships with them. When the chaos cleared, both sides had lost most of their forces, had only 3 fighters and his command ship left. Vila had 6 cruisers and her command ship. She still had the advantage, but it was much smaller than before. "You destroyed your own fleet," Vila shouted. "That is insane." "I know," shouted back. "Is it not wonderful?" The crowd was completely silent now. Nobody was laughing anymore. They were all staring at the battlefield with shock on their faces. The human had nearly destroyed himself, but he had also nearly destroyed the best tactician on the ship. Vila steadied herself. She still had more ships. She could still win. She ordered her cruisers to surround remaining forces. There was nowhere for him to run. But was not finished with surprises. He ordered his 3 fighters to attack in 3 completely different directions. One attacked the cruisers from the front. One attacked from below. One flew in crazy circles, shooting randomly. Vila's cruisers tried to respond, but the attacks were too scattered. They could not defend against all 3 directions at once. One fighter was destroyed, then another, but the third one managed to get behind Vila's formation. It was heading straight for her command ship. "No," Vila commanded her cruisers to return, but's last fighter was already firing. Laser blasts hit Vila's command ship's shields. The shields held. Vila's cruisers arrived and destroyed the fighter, but the damage was done. Her command ship was weakened. Now it was just her cruisers and command ship against command ship alone. "You are out of tricks," Vila said. "You have no more ships. This is over." Looked at his lonely command ship on the display. She was right. He had nothing left. All his crazy plans had brought him this far, but not far enough. Or had they? Suddenly remembered something about command ships. They had weapons too. Most commanders never used them because command ships were supposed to stay safe in the back. Using a command ship in combat was considered foolish and risky. "Perfect." "You think this is over," said. "Watch this." He flew his command ship directly at Vila's fleet, not running away, not hiding, attacking. The crowd gasped. Vila's eyes went wide with disbelief. "He is charging," she said. "With just his command ship, this is madness." It was madness, and that was exactly why it might work. His command ship opened fire on the cruisers. The cruisers fired back. Explosions filled the screen. Warning alarms screamed as ship took damage. But was not aiming for the cruisers. He was using them as cover. His real target was behind them. In the chaos of battle, his command ship slipped past the cruiser formation. Vila realized what was happening too late. No, intercept him. But her cruisers were still turning around, and command ship was already in range of her command ship. He fired everything he had. 1 shot, 2 shots, 3. Vila's shields, already weakened from before, could not hold. They shattered. Her command ship flashed red. Simulation ended, the computer announced. Victor, Commander JOON. The room went absolutely silent. Nobody moved, nobody breathed. Then slowly started clapping, joined him. Then the whole crowd erupted into shocked, amazed applause. Had won. The human engineer had defeated the greatest tactician in history. The simulation room was filled with noise. Crew members shouted, clapped, and stamped their feet. Some were cheering for. Others were simply amazed at what they had just witnessed. A few were still staring at the final display in complete disbelief. Stood on his command platform, his legs weak and his heart pounding. He had done it. Somehow, against all odds, he had won. His hands were shaking from the stress of the battle. On the other platform, Vila stood motionless. Her 4 arms hung at her sides. Her eyes had shifted to a deep, dark blue that had never seen before. She was staring at the holographic display where her destroyed command ship still floated in virtual pieces. The crowd slowly became quiet. Everyone was watching Vila now. How would the greatest strategist respond to her first defeat? Captain stepped forward carefully. "The duel has concluded," he announced. "By the rules of tradition, Commander's victory is official. The challenge has been answered." Vila did not move. She did not speak. Felt a wave of worry wash over him. Had he humiliated her too badly? Had winning been worse than losing? He had been so focused on surviving that he had not thought about what would happen afterward. Slowly he stepped down from his platform and walked toward Vila. The crowd parted to let him pass. He stopped a few meters away from her, unsure of what to say. "Vila," he said softly, I hope I did not." Vila raised one of her hands. "Stop talking." For a long moment she simply looked at him. Her blue eyes studied his face, his posture, everything about him. The entire room held its breath. Then, incredibly, Vila smiled. It was not a small smile. It was a wide, genuine expression of joy that transformed her entire face. Her eyes shifted from dark blue to brilliant green, then to warm gold, then to the strange pink color that had seen before. "I lost," Vila said. Her voice was not angry or sad, it was almost happy. "I actually lost." Was confused. "You are not upset." Vila laughed. It was the same strange sound he had heard before, but louder now, fuller. "Upset. Do you understand what you have done? I have fought hundreds of duels. I have defeated every strategist in the military. Admirals, generals, tactical geniuses. They all fell to me." She stepped closer to him. "And then you came along, an engineer who talks to himself, a human who fights with chaos instead of order, and you beat me." "I got lucky," he said. "Mostly I just confused you." "Lucky?" Vila shook her head. "There was no luck in what you did. Every move you made seemed random, but it all led to this moment. You made me think you were foolish while you were actually brilliant. That is not luck. That is genius." Did not know what to say. He had never thought of himself as a genius. He was just a guy who fixed machines and sometimes spoke without thinking. Captain approached them both. "Officer Vila, according to tradition, you must now respond to the original declaration. Commander has proven his words have value. What is your answer?" The crowd leaned forward eagerly. This was the moment everyone had been waiting for. What would Vila say? Would she accept the human as a partner? Would she reject him despite his victory? Vila turned to face the crowd. Her 4 arms spread wide and her voice carried across the entire room. "My answer is this," she said. "Commander has proven himself worthy. His mind is unlike anything I have ever encountered. His praise of my tactical abilities has been answered with a demonstration of his own." She paused and her pink eyes grew even brighter. "Therefore, I wish to make my own public declaration." The room went completely silent. Vila pulled a small device from her robe. It was her personal translator, set to broadcast mode. She activated it deliberately, making sure everyone could hear what she was about to say. Then she looked directly at I, Vila of the, publicly declare my admiration for this human strategic mind. I find his chaos beautiful. I find his creativity inspiring. I find his courage worthy of the highest respect. Gasps echoed through the crowd. Vila was doing it. She was making the same kind of declaration that had accidentally made, but she was doing it on purpose. Furthermore, Vila continued, I formally request that be assigned as my permanent tactical partner. I want him by my side during all future missions. I want to learn from his madness, and perhaps, her voice softened slightly, perhaps I can teach him some order in return. The crowd erupted into chaos. Some cheered, some laughed, some sat in stunned silence. Lieutenant was jumping up and down excitedly, was laughing so hard that tears were running down his face. Captain raised his hands for silence. When the room finally calmed down, he looked at, Well, Commander, Officer Vila has made her request. How do you respond? Looked at Vila. Her eyes were warm and hopeful. Behind the confident officer, he could see the lonely person she had described before, someone who was feared rather than admired, someone who had never been truly challenged until today. He thought about his own life on the ship. He had been alone too, in a way. The only human engineer, always an outsider among the other species, always trying to fit into patterns that were not made for him. Maybe two outsiders could find something together. I accept, said. The room exploded with noise again. This time, everyone was cheering. Even the crew members who had bet against were smiling. This was too good a story to be upset about losing a few credits. Vila walked toward until they were standing face to face. She extended one of her hands toward him in what recognized as a gesture of respect. Took her hand. Her silver skin was cool and smooth against his palm. Partners, Vila said. Partners agreed. Then, because he was still and he still spoke without thinking, he added, You know, I still think your rear defense strategy was very impressive. The entire room heard him. His translator was still in normal mode, but his voice carried clearly. For a moment there was silence. Then Vila laughed again, louder than before. You really cannot help yourself, can you? Apparently not, admitted. Good, Vila said. Her eyes sparkled with amusement. I would not want you to change. Your chaos is what makes you special. As they stood together in the center of the simulation room, surrounded by cheering crew members from a dozen different species, realized something important. He had spent his whole life thinking that his habit of speaking his thoughts was a weakness, a flaw that caused him trouble and embarrassment. But here, on this ship full of aliens, that flaw had led him to something wonderful. It had caused him to accidentally praise the right person at the right time. It had forced him into a challenge that revealed his true abilities, and it had brought him a partner who appreciated his chaos. Maybe speaking his thoughts was not such a bad thing after all. Later that evening, sat in the cafeteria with Vila. They were celebrating his victory with food and drinks from 3 different worlds. The other crew members kept stopping by to congratulate him or ask questions about his tactics. I still do not fully understand what you did, Vila admitted. Some of your moves seemed completely random. Were they? Shrugged, some of them were. Some of them were planned. The trick was making sure you could not tell which was which. Brilliant and terrifying, Vila said. I look forward to working with you, partner. Raised her glass. To chaos, she said. To chaos, the others echoed. Smiled and drank with his new friends. His accidental broadcast had turned into the best thing that ever happened to him, and he had a feeling that his adventures with Vila were only just beginning. The galaxy would never know what hit it.